The idea of a midlife crisis was developed in the late 1950s and early 1960s by psychoanalyst Elliott Jaques. He argued that people in their mid-30s can experience a depressive episode lasting several years. In ordinary people, this could mean a sudden inability to enjoy their lives, a greater focus on their health and appearance, or attempts to remain young. Would buying a motorcycle in your later years be considered a midlife crisis? Let's go for a ride and talk about it.
Whenever you hear about a midlife crisis in the media or popular culture, there's generally a negative connotation associated with it. You might be shown an older guy who's buying a sports car for the first time or changing how they dress and act. Maybe they're leaving a long-term stable relationship and dating younger people. But I think that's a bit too dismissive and stereotypical because there are major changes going on in a man's life at this age. Now, there have been studies looking at happiness throughout life, and they say it's shaped like a U-curve. Earlier in life, you're very happy. You're young, the whole future's ahead of you, you have less responsibility, you have more time to hang out with your friends and do things you like. But when you start hitting your 30s and 40s, you might be getting married, you might have more responsibility at work, at home, you might have children that take up your time, and you might really not have as much time to yourself, and that's a major adjustment that people need to understand is a normal part of life. As you get older, that U-curve starts to go up, and you start being happier. And you think about it, it makes sense, right? Your children might be out of the house, you might have more time for your hobbies, you might have more money stashed away to do whatever you like, and your job might be getting easier or you're nearing retirement. So the U-curve shoots back up and you're happier. Now, thinking about those things, is getting a motorcycle later in life, in 30s, 40s, or later, considered a midlife crisis? And I know a lot of people, especially if they're not into the motorcycle hobby, would think, oh, yeah, that's crazy. Why would you get a motorcycle? Like, they're death machines. You really shouldn't be riding. You should know better at your age. But if you think about it, the older you are, the more it makes sense to get a motorcycle, right? You have potentially more money stashed away than when you were, say, 18, 19, 20 years old. You might be able to afford a better, safer motorcycle. You may be able to afford better, safer gear. And you can pay for classes and do things the right way. Then comes the emotional maturity aspect of it. There have been studies showing that the frontal lobes, the parts that control impulse control and executive function, develop as you get older. So in younger men, those may not be as developed. So they may be more likely to speed, do risky driving, not wear proper gear, and potentially worry more about what their friends think or how they should ride, and that could really get you into trouble. But as your frontal lobes develop, as you get older, you should, hopefully, have a little more experience and be able to know better what's right and what's wrong. So you could theoretically be a safer motorcycle rider when you start at a later age, especially if you take the classes and take all the safety precautions that you can. And then comes in something that we've talked about before, are the mental and physical health benefits of motorcycle riding. And I'll link the video above where I talk specifically about that. When you ride a motorcycle, it's really good for your mental health. It can trigger dopamine release, which makes you feel better. It could increase your time spent outside, so you're getting more sun exposure, more vitamin D levels. All those things contribute to a healthier lifestyle. So if you think about the happiness curve where the happiness drops in your 30s and 40s, maybe getting a motorcycle is and not really a crisis, just you're helping yourself get to a better state mentally. So when you consider all those things, in my opinion, a motorcycle purchase in your 30s and 40s would not be considered a midlife crisis. I'm not going to ramble any further. I'd love to get this discussion going in the comments. How old were you when you purchased your motorcycle? Did people think that you were going through a midlife crisis? Are you still riding and enjoying it? Let's talk about it below, and thanks for watching.